Good morning, friends. We continue with our chapter number 14, Sources of Energy. In the previous lecture, we saw the conversion of energy, the law of conservation of energy, that energy can neither be created nor destroyed. It can only be converted from one form to another. And we also saw usable forms of energy, means once you use a source of energy, it turns from a usable form to an unusable form, right? So we talked about many sources of energy, the conversion of energy, and we also saw in the end the generation of electricity. So like I told in the previous lecture, the generation of electricity is done by dynamo. Now the dynamo we will learn when we'll do the chapter number magnetic effects of electric current, right? But here you have to understand there is a dynamo, there is a coil moving between magnets. A moving coil, yes, placed in a magnetic field generates an electric current. So now we will see how electricity can be generated in different ways. But very important thing is that electricity is a versatile form of energy. What does versatile mean? I told you in the previous lecture. Electricity generated at one place can be sent through wires at different places. So just now we are living in a city and we have electric supply. But the electric current, the electric power is not generated in the city. It is done somewhere outside the city and then the electric current is transmitted through wires. So electricity has helped us for the TV, the fridge, all the appliances in the house are mostly running today by electricity. But to generate electricity, what do we need? Which energy is needed? We'll see in this lecture and then we'll see what is the most feasible and sustainable form of energy. So first we have a thermal power plant. So what is a thermal power plant? So when we discovered fossil fuels like coal and petroleum, right? So coal was used in a thermal power plant. What is the meaning of the word thermal? Thermal means heat. So thermal is related to heat. So fossil fuels are burnt every day. A large amount of coal is burnt to do what? Heat up the water to produce steam. So as you can see in the picture, what you can observe in the picture, the main thing is the boiler. Water is filled in the boiler and preheated air from a furnace. The preheated air is thrown into a furnace. So what does the boiler do? The boiler turns the water into steam. The steam with high pressure moves through pipes and it moves a turbine. You can see again the turbine, that is a coil which is placed in a magnetic field. It is moved with the help of the steam. In the previous slide you saw the pressure cooker is pushing the fan. So here the actual thing is shown. The steam moves the turbine which generates the electric current. Then once the steam pushes the turbine, the steam is condensed to form the water again. So again the water is formed, the water is fed back into the boiler, again it is converted into steam and this process continues. Okay, so here is the coal supply. The coal is pulverized, means broken into powder, and then it is burnt to produce the heat. And the pollution, you can see the boiler, the dust is collected and it goes out through the chimney. So this is the basic idea of a thermal power plant. A lot of coal is burnt every day at every hour just to boil the water to convert it into steam. And then the steam pushes the turbine which generates electricity. Now electricity, like I told you, is more efficient because it is easy to transport. Coal or petroleum to be transported by the same distance needs some vehicles like trucks or trains or something like that. But electricity can be just passed through the help of the wires. So thermal power plants are set up near the coal or oil fields. The thermal power plant burns fuel which produces heat energy and is then converted to electrical energy. So you can see what is a thermal power plant basically. It uses coal as a fuel to convert water into steam. Why is water converted into steam? To move the turbine to generate the electricity. So here coal is used in a large scale to produce electric current. But the electric current produced at one place is transmitted to wires. But there are still many villages in India where electricity is not available, and if it is available at a very small rate and for certain time of the day. So India has to look to a source of energy because farms, yes, irrigation facilities, all of that need electricity. The farmers also need electricity. In some villages there is no electricity, so there is a much of a problem. Now we see the hydropower plant. So the thermal power plant was one power plant, and we saw the drawback when you burn smoke, it gives out a lot of smoke. Sorry, when you burn coal, it gives out a lot of smoke. Now the hydropower plant. What is a hydropower plant? This water filled in a reservoir or a dam. So water is filled in the dam or a reservoir. Okay, so when it rains, the water is not allowed to flow. It is collected in a place called a dam or a reservoir. Okay. Now, whenever it rains, the reservoir will get full, right? It is collected. Then you can see these sluice gates. The gates. The gates are opened and the water starts to flow. Now this flowing water again moves the wheel that moves the turbine, and again electricity is generated. So you see the common part, all you have to do is move the turbine to produce electricity. In the thermal power plant, the coal heats the water, converts it into steam, and the pressure of the steam moves the turbine. Here water is collected in a dam which has got potential energy. The potential energy gets converted into kinetic energy when it starts to flow. This pushes the turbine, which is the mechanical energy, giving rise to the power lines, electricity, that is the electric energy. So, to produce tidal electricity, that is hydropower plant, tidal electricity, high-rise dams are constructed. So, dams have to be constructed to collect the water. But when dams are constructed, we obstruct the river to flow. So the river, you can see the river which is basically normally flowing, now a wall is built and the water is collected. Okay, and the flowing water moves the turbine and generates electricity. So in this case there is no smoke. Electricity generated here is without smoke or pollution. So what happens is, you can see the working here, the water level rises, it gains potential energy. When it is allowed to flow, it becomes the kinetic energy of flowing water. So what is happening? The potential is turned into kinetic. Then the wheel of the turbine, or the turbine is moved, is mechanical. Okay, so that is what, through pipes, the water is moved to the turbine at the bottom of the dam. The mechanical turns electrical. So this is a conversion of energy here. This is a hydropower plant. Means water in a dam or flowing water is used to generate electricity. But now we'll see what is the damage caused due to construction of dams. We feel that filling up the dam with water provides water for drinking, for producing electricity, water for irrigation in farmings, water for industries. So we are storing the water. We are not allowing the water to flow to the sea where it becomes salty. We are storing the rainwater in dams. So it looks a very good option for the development. But construction of dams can also cause damage. How? First, let us see the limitations. Dams can be constructed only in a limited number of places. So in a proper places, preferably where? In the hilly terrains. So when the water is flowing down in the hills, a wall is made and a dam is constructed. But when a dam is constructed, large areas of agricultural land and human habitation are to be sacrificed. What does it mean? The river is flowing down. When the water is flowing, the level is not too high. But when you build a wall on the dam and water gets collected, then all the areas inside the dam, the agriculture area and the people who live there, they all go under the water. So they have to be shifted to higher areas. Now humans can be shifted, but the land cannot be shifted. So large areas of agriculture land get submerged inside the water. Then animals and the trees which cannot be moved, that is the ecosystems, are destroyed when submerged in the water. The vegetation, the trees which submerge in the water starts rotting and gives rise to anaerobic conditions which gives out large amounts of methane. So in the dam, all the trees, all the vegetation which is under the water starts to rot, and when it is rotting it gives out large amounts of methane gas, which is a greenhouse gas. Means it increases the temperature of the earth. Then rehabilitation of the people. People from the lower side of the dam have to be moved to the upper side. So it causes a great pain to people. People who are used to living in the valley cannot live on the hill. So that is a problem also. So there was opposition to the construction of Tehri Dam on the river Ganga and the Sardar Sarovar project on the river Narmada. Next we talk about biomass. So we have seen the hydropower plant, the thermal power plant. Now we talk about the biomass. What is biomass? Okay. Now we saw that we constantly need a supply of energy, and electricity is a versatile form of energy. So even coal is a form of energy, but we convert the coal, the heat of the coal, into electricity. Flowing water is also converted into electricity. Now if we grow enough trees, then we can get a constant supply of firewood, right? In the ancient time, cow dung cakes, even today in the villages you will find cow dung cakes are used as fuel. If you see, then people take the cow dung cakes and paste them on the wall, and when they become hard they are burnt to cook food and heat water and so on. So if there are trees, we have firewood, then cow dung cakes are also used as fuel. Now why are they called biomass? Fuels made by plant and animal products means living things. Plants and animals both are living things. So the fuels which are made of plant and animal products is said to be biomass. So firewood comes from tree, so it is biomass. Cow dung comes from animals, so it is biomass. So all the things which you can use as fuel, which comes from living things like plants and animals, are called biomass. But these biomass fuels, these fuels are not too good. Why? You can see they do not produce much heat on burning, and lot of smoke is given out when they are burnt. So these two things make the fuel less efficient. We can burn wood, we can have cow dung cakes, we can burn that, but the heat given out by these products is very less, one thing, and the smoke produced is much more, causing pollution. So this fuel is not very efficient. Okay, so there is a scientific process in which the efficiency of the fuel can be increased. How? You can see this. This is called destructive distillation of coal. When wood is burnt in a limited supply of oxygen, when wood is burnt in a limited supply of oxygen, then water and volatile materials get removed, and what is left behind is charcoal. Here is the picture of charcoal. This picture is a picture of charcoal. This is not common coal. The wood is burnt. Burnt means heated. It is not, fire is not lit to it. It is heated in the limited supply of oxygen. So water will evaporate and all the volatile materials will evaporate, causing air spaces inside. So this coal becomes hollow and now is called a charcoal. So the processing of wood gives us charcoal as the residue. Now charcoal burns without flames, is very smokeless and gives higher heat. So this is one way in which the efficiency of the wood can be increased. When you burn wood, then wood has got some moisture inside, some water, some particles which create a lot of smoke and give less heat. So the firewood is heated in the absence of oxygen, so water is evaporated and even the volatile metals get evaporated, causing air spaces. So that leaves charcoal as the residue. Now when we burn charcoal, it burns without flames, without smoke, and gives higher heat. So the efficiency of the charcoal has been increased. So this is biomass. Again, why it is called biomass? Bio means living. So the fuels are which we get from living things like plants and animals are called biomass. Now, from biomass we go to biogas. This is a new technology called biogas. So what is biogas? So we saw there is cow dung, human and animal excreta, then various plant materials like after the harvesting of the crops, the residue is left behind, the vegetable waste, the gutter sewage, they all are decomposed in the absence of oxygen to give biogas. Now since one important material of biogas is cow dung, it is sometimes also called gobar gas because cow dung is called as gobar. So from biomass now we are moving to biogas. So let us see how biogas is produced. So biogas is possible very less in the cities, but in the villages it can be a very good source of energy. Biogas is produced from waste. So this is a picture of a biogas plant. So you can see there is a part for slurry over here. This is slurry. Now, how is the slurry formed? So first of all, bathrooms, the washrooms. So we have got animal and human waste and animal waste, cow dung and so on, vegetable waste. Then after the harvesting of the crops, the leaves and the wood which is left behind. This waste is mostly biodegradable waste, means plastics and glass, and that is not included. Only biodegradable waste, that is plant and animal products, cow dung, leaves, vegetable waste, then after harvesting the crops all the stalks and everything is put and it is mixed with water, that is called the slurry. Okay, so we will talk about the biogas plant. It is a dome-like structure built with bricks. So you can see outside it is built with bricks, the whole structure is made of bricks. Then the slurry, like I told you, of cow dung and water. Not only cow dung and water, all the vegetable waste and everything is mixed into a mixing tank. So first it is made into a mixing tank, then this slurry is moved to the digester. So this is the digester. Now the digester is a sealed chamber where there is no oxygen. So you can see it is completely covered with the slurry and it is a closed chamber, the digester, where there is no oxygen at all. Now what happens? In the absence of oxygen, anaerobic microorganisms decompose or break down complex compounds and release a gas. So you can see in this chamber, that is the digester, anaerobic microorganisms. What is anaerobic microorganisms? They do not require oxygen. They break down all the plant and waste material and release a gas. So this gas is the biogas. So it takes a few days for the decomposition process. And which gases are generated? Methane, carbon dioxide, hydrogen and hydrogen sulfide. Out of these two, methane, as we know, and hydrogen are combustible and together it makes up the fuel. And whenever needed, there is a tap with a gas outlet. You can use the gas inside the kitchen or wherever. So you can see this is a very good and efficient way of harvesting the waste material. So all the waste of the farm the farm waste is put inside the slurry. The slurry is put in the digester, and the anaerobic respiration gives rise to a gas. So this gas, you can see, is a very good fuel and made up only of waste products. Okay. After the decomposition takes place and the gas is used up, whatever remains is also very good organic manure which is used as a fertilizer. So we can see the biogas plant is using waste materials to produce fuel gas, and also the waste, the byproduct of the biogas is a very good organic manure. So biogas plant is now given much importance in the villages. People are helped to construct biogas plants. It gives two very important things. All the waste is managed properly, and from the waste we get two important products, a gaseous fuel and manure. Now let us see biogas as a fuel. It is an excellent fuel which contains up to 75% methane. Now methane is the simplest hydrocarbon. You must have learned in the chapter number 4. Methane is the simplest hydrocarbon which burns completely. And because it burns completely, it burns without smoke and leaves no residue like ash. There is no ash. Its heating capacity is high, means the calorific value is high. Biogas can be also used for lighting, and like I told you, the slurry left behind is an excellent manure which is rich in nitrogen and phosphorus. Makes a very good fertilizer. So the large scale utilization of bio waste and sewage materials provides a safe and efficient method of waste disposal which supplies us energy and manure. So learn the diagrams very well. A short note on a biogas plant, the hydropower station can be asked as a short note for 3 or 4 marks. In that you have to write the whole construction, the working and the use of the plant, and also what fuel it produces. So this is biogas as a fuel. Now we also go to one thing called wind energy. Again, wind energy is what? A form of energy. Now first we understand how is wind energy formed. Why there is wind. So again the sun is responsible. The sun heats up the land mass, but the unequal heating of the land mass and water bodies, okay, by the solar radiation, the unequal heating of land and water, you have done before land and sea breeze. You know what happens? Land gets heated faster, so the air over the land rises, creating a region of low pressure. So air from the sea blows towards the land is called sea breeze. Now this sea breeze has got kinetic energy because the flowing wind has got kinetic energy. So what is done? In the past, the windmills were used to do mechanical work. What mechanical work the windmill did? It could pull out water from a deep well. Okay. So today how are windmills made? There is a large electric fan on a very high rigid support. Then the wind moves the fan blades. You can see these blades. Okay. Now at the bottom of the tower there is a turbine, and there is a belt which connects this rotor to the turbine. So when the wind moves the wind blades, then the belt moves the turbine, giving rise to electric current. But one windmill does not create very much electric current. Therefore, a large number of windmills are erected over a large area and is actually called a wind energy farm. Because one windmill will produce very less amount of energy, so we need more windmills. It is called a wind energy farm or wind farm. So you can see here again the main purpose: flowing water, moving wind or steam. All they do is move the turbine, and the turbine generates the electricity. So we saw thermal power plant uses coal produces high amount of smoke. Hydropower plant is good because it only uses water, but a construction of dam does other lot of damage also. Then we have got a wind energy. On the hills of Marnath you have seen the large fans which are producing electricity from wind energy. So this also looks very feasible, creates no pollution, but there are some drawbacks. Wind energy is an environment friendly and efficient source of energy. There are no recurring expenses, but let us look at the limitations. Wind energies can be established only at those places where the wind blows for the greater part of the year, that is near the seashore or on the high hills. Then the wind speed should at least be higher than 15 km per hour. So that is the second limitation. To maintain the required speed, the speed of the wind should be at least 15 km per hour. But when the electricity is generated, there should be some backup facilities like storage cell where the energy can be stored. So you can use it when there is no wind. Now wind energy farms require large areas of land. So it covers a large area of land. That is another drawback. For a 1 megawatt generator, the farm needs around 2 hectares of land. The initial cost of establishment, means putting the wind farm, is quite high. Okay, and since the tower and blades are out in the weather, in the rain, the sun, the storm, they need a high level of maintenance. Even the windmills near the sea, because of the high moisture, can rust also, and high wind can break the blades of the fan also. So even though wind energy is a very environment friendly and efficient source, there are many drawbacks. So you can see here the thermal power station. Yes, there we can burn the coal, it is under our control. Then we have got the hydropower station, the water can be made to flow under our control. But in the wind energy, we have to depend on the wind for the electricity. So we are now moving to other sources of energy which will cause less harm to the environment, but these are sometimes very, very costly. So in this chapter, what have we seen? We have seen a thermal power plant, a hydropower plant, wind energy. We learned what is biomass and how biogas is also a good way of getting some energy. It's conversion of energy. So we are doing what? We are converting one form of energy into another. Coal to electricity, kinetic energy of water to electricity, kinetic energy of wind to electricity, biogas we produce from the biodegradable waste. So in this way we are converting lot of energy from one form to another, right? So this is very, very efficient. But we will see there are other limitations also. But coal is very limited. So in the next lecture we will see how coal is formed by thousands of years. We even did it before, that coal and petroleum takes thousands of years to form. Dead remains of plants and animals buried deep inside the soil, due to the temperature and pressure of the earth, gets converted into coal and petroleum. We are using it at a fast rate, and that is a non-renewable source of energy. So we have diverted our attention to renewable source like wind energy, solar energy, hydropower plant. But you see how much costly it is, because technology has been improving. Also, a lot of research is done on this kind of things, trying to make the energy sources more and more efficient. So these are the possible sources of energy we have studied right now, but you have to understand that research is going on to make the energy resources more efficient. So we are going to end this lecture here. Kindly revise it and we'll continue the next lecture tomorrow. Thank you.